Hello and welcome to It's All About You, the best show about you on the internet. I am B. Dave Walters, writer, talk radio host, Beliefnet featured blogger. This is episode number 71, Past Pain. And real quick, I gotta apologize. I think I got some noise in the background. It's kind of coming and going, and I was like, should I not record? I don't know what's going on. But you know what? Let's just go for it. So let me just say I apologize right now if you hear something in the background. Like noise, think the neighbors are doing something. Okay, so my blog is live. Okay, my Beliefnet featured blog. You can find the link to it and everything else I do on about.me/B Dave Walters. You got to see it. It's called A Reason to Smile. The picture they designed for me is like amazing. And if you're watching this on Beliefnet, hey, welcome aboard. So I want to talk to you about something that's really important. That's why I want to get right down to it. And that is freeing you from the pain of the past. Okay? Or really whatever pain you're experiencing. Because honestly, whatever it is, it's somewhat rooted in past experience. 99.9% of the time. Because if you're new to my work, something that we've discussed many times, and if you're not new, welcome back. Here's a little reminder of the fact that, remember, fear only lives in the future. Okay? You cannot be afraid of something that is actually happening. Alright? If you want to know why I say that, you can watch the video I did, and all the videos are up on my Facebook fan page, which is linked there, and it's also facebook.com/B Dave Walters. Everything's at B Dave Walters. And you can go and you can watch the episode on fear, where I explain extensively why fear only lives in the future. But for now, just go with me on this. Fear only lives in the future. Here's the number one mistake so many of us make, okay? And that's the fact that we're living our lives like tomorrow is yesterday. Or like what happened yesterday is going to happen tomorrow. Does that make sense? We keep taking our past experience and putting it in front of us. My job sucked yesterday, it's going to suck tomorrow. My relationship sucked yesterday and I was lonely yesterday. My relationship's going to suck and I'm going to be lonely tomorrow. Right? And we say occasionally we kind of just sort of try and paint over this dissatisfaction with a couple of like positive quotes and affirmations, and you watch The Secret and you get really excited for like a day and a half, and then you sort of slide back into those same old patterns. Has this ever happened to you? Maybe it hadn't happened to you. You might be just like this wildcat who can just get everything you want, like immediately, right? But you may know somebody who's tried to change and couldn't. Who tried to take on a new diet to lose weight and couldn't. Who tried to make more money and couldn't. Or find true love and couldn't. See, today's quote, I didn't start with it, but today's quote is from Carl Jung. What we resist persists. You may not have even known that Jung said that, but he did. What we resist persists, okay? Because anything that you put any energy and intensity and focus on gets more, it just gets bigger in your life. What you focus on expands, okay? So if you focus on the fact that you're overweight, then what you're going to get is being more overweight. If you focus on the fact that you're broke, what you're going to get is more broke. Or if you're sick and in pain, you're going to get sicker and in more pain, right? Now, you've probably heard me say before about these classes I took years ago through Landmark Education called the Landmark Forum, the Advanced Course in Self-Expression and Leadership Program, right? The classes were amazing, changed my life, and had a huge influence in who I am today. And recently I got introduced to a book that I'm really loving called The 3 Laws of Performance. Now, look at this, my face next to it. Celebrity endorsement. Now, this is more about business than it is about personal development, although personal development is an aspect of it because you can't really succeed in business long term and be a terrible person. I mean, you can succeed in the short term, but you won't succeed in the long term. And I really enjoyed it because it's reintroduced me to a lot of concepts from Landmark. So if you don't have 3.5 full days and a couple $100s to go to the Landmark Forum, this will give you a pretty good introduction. But it talks about the 3 laws, and I don't want to necessarily give away the ending. It's not a fiction book, but I'm going to tell you what the 3 laws of performance are, and the book is about how to apply it and how to actually do these things, so I still recommend you read it. Again, 3 laws of performance. But the 3 laws are basically this. The first law is how people perform correlates to how the situation occurs to them. How people perform correlates to how the situation occurs to them. What's that mean? Let me translate it in English. What it means is what you actually do, or what anybody does, or what you don't do, or what anybody doesn't do, is directly related to how they see things. Okay? Remember, we don't see things how they are, we see things how we are. You know, you're not reacting to what actually is happening, you're reacting to how you see what's happening and what you make what's happening mean. Does that make sense? So the first thing you got to do and really work on is pay attention to how you framed these things in your mind and how you talk about these things. Remember, everything lives in language. Everything. Okay? Everything. If I wreck my car tomorrow, it can be a tragedy and a crisis that I wreck my car, or it can be an opportunity to get a new car. The situation hasn't changed. The circumstances hasn't changed. Just how I looked at it changed. Does that make sense? Now, the second law is that how a situation occurs arises in language. Again, when you look at these situations, how are you describing them even to yourself, to your internal dialogue? Does that make sense? Like if you're having a problem in your relationship and you're like, he's always late. He's always late, right? Now think about that. Anytime you say words like always, never, all, any big generalization is kind of a warning sign that you're on the wrong track. Remember, we've been talking about this infinite capacity for self-deception that we have. And if you're like, he's always late, well, has he ever been on time ever? Well, sure, he's been on time. Well, then he's not always late, is he? Well, no, right? See, that's the thing. When you're living into and responding to he's always late, that's going to get you a very different response than even he's sometimes late. He's often late. He's late a lot. You know what I mean? But even that slight shift is going to change the way that you relate to it. Okay? Again, remember, everything lives in language. All right? So you can start looking at ways that you can start to reframe the way you look at things. Right? Like you've seen me do this 100 times when you're going through situations like pain from the past. You know? When something that hurts you, when you think about it, how do you even think about it? Do you think about it as they took advantage of me, they ruined me, they crushed me, they betrayed me? Do you use these really elaborate words like this? Right? Because what you want to start working on is start drilling down, not from reality, because reality is where you are right now, but you want to get down to actuality. What actually happened? What's so? Okay? What's so is not that they defiled you and, violated you, right? Well, what happened is they touched you without permission. That's what happened, right? That they may have done something that you didn't want them to do. But think about that. Look at how differently you relate to that even in your mind. The idea that it's like, okay, you touched me without my permission versus you violated me. See what I'm saying? I mean, the actual event hasn't changed, but the thing is, one of those ways of looking at it keeps you a victim and remain a victim indefinitely. But the other one starts to give you the freedom to start to move past that. Does that make sense? Because let me tell you the third law before I tell you too much and give away the ending here. The third law of performance is future-based language transforms how situations occur to people. Future-based language transforms how situations occur to people, okay? Because here's the challenge, and this is what a big part of the book was about. Last time I'm going to show it to you because I'm going to put it down now. Is all of us are living into something known as the default future, okay? The default future, what's coming? We can temporarily kind of get into a someday maybe future. Like if I say, do you want to be wealthy? Yes. Do you believe you'll be wealthy? Sure I do. Well, no, you don't. I can tell you why you don't. Because if you really believed it, you'd be there now. Okay? Again, if you want to know what you really think, if you want to know what your worldview really is, then look at your results. Look around the room right now. That's what you really believe. That's what you're really living into because that's what's showing up for you. Okay? And you have to start freeing yourself from the past and from this past condition so that you can start living into a new future. Does that make sense? Because what you're doing right now, it's like you're trying to draw on a paper that's already been drawn on. Like you're trying to paint on a canvas that's already been painted over. You need a new blank canvas to be able to start to move forward. Does that make sense? Now, we've talked lots of times about this idea of completing the past, and you know that it's rooted in forgiveness. It is, okay? But something that I've never told you, well, actually I have told you, but I didn't make a big deal about it, is a big part of forgiveness. Again, forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. It's for you. It's not for them. It's not saying what they did is okay. It is just releasing the negative energy that you still have attached to this situation, okay? It's tugging at the knot, at the string that's all balled up inside of you. And once you get that string kind of unplug the dam, then all the other stuff will rush out. And that's what will create the space to create something new. Does that make sense? Because not only do you have to forgive them for what they did, and this is one of the things that we do in the Landmark Forum that was so tremendously powerful. And me just telling you this on video can't really do it justice, but I'm going to tell you. You don't just have to forgive them for whatever they did or what they didn't do, but you have to forgive yourself for making them wrong. You have to forgive yourself and apologize to them. Because when the dust settles, they did what they did or they didn't do what they didn't do. That's a fact. They did what they did or they didn't do what they didn't do. And then you took it and made it mean what you made it mean. Does that make sense? Like a big part of Landmark, since you go digging through the past, and whenever you've got these problems or issues that come up again and again and again, the wrong relationship, the wrong man, the wrong woman, the wrong job, the wrong choices, substance abuse, drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever it is, porn, whatever it is that you're hooked on and you can't control. If you look back, all of that is in response to an impulse, to some pain, okay? And if you look into your past, you can find the root of this pain, and the place to look for it is around your earliest memory of feeling this way, okay? And probably right along with that, you've got some judgments about some people, right? And again, hear me when I'm telling you. I'm not saying that what they did was okay. Maybe it wasn't okay. But the fact of the matter is, if you're mad at your father because he wasn't around, maybe he was working. Maybe he thought he was providing for you. Maybe he was doing the best he could. Maybe his father wasn't around, right? When you start to look at situations, you start seeing there's many reasons why people do what they do. Infinite reasons why people do what they do or don't do what they don't do. And when you start to realize your dad wasn't a father to you because his father wasn't a father to him and he didn't know how, then it starts to feel different than he just chose to neglect me. Does that make sense? Or he just wasn't there. He was never there. Well, I'm like, was he ever there? Ever there? Do you remember a single Christmas, a single birthday? Because if you do, then you can't say he was never there. That's not true. Does that make sense? See, when you can start to free yourself from this pent-up aggression that you've got that's all about shoulding. I was talking to somebody about this just the other day, and she was very much in a place of I should be doing this, I should be better, I should this, should that, blah, 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 shoulding all over herself, like they said on the on Saturday Night Live, right? But the fact is, what should be, honestly, is an illusion. Because what should be is what is. And believe it or not, it is only when you can accept that you shouldn't be anything other than what you are, and you shouldn't be anywhere else than where you are, or you would be there. It's only when you can accept that, strangely enough, that you have the ability to create something else. Because all the time you spend beating yourself up for what you should have done or what you should not have done or what someone else should or should not have done is wasted. And all you're doing is reinforcing that same negative pattern. Does that make sense? This is why I'm always telling you that you're great and I love you. And I'm asking you to look in the mirror and look yourself in the eye and say, you're great and I love you. Because you've got to start to accept who and what you are and who and where you are before you can start to create something else. Because all you're ever going to have is now. Now hear me, I'm not saying that your life won't change and it may not get better than what it is, but all that you'll ever have is this exact moment, this time, now, okay? The past is gone. The future isn't here yet, and it's not promised, not guaranteed to any of us, right? So you have to find how to be comfortable with yourself in your own skin in the present moment. Now, I've been talking about this a lot over the past few episodes. And remember, if you have specifically painful memories, specific instances that really hurt you and you're having trouble dealing with, in episode 37 of this series, I did an episode called Instant Change. Okay? And you can go, that one's only on Facebook. It's not on YouTube. But again, you come to my fan page, facebook.com/BDaveWalters. Click on videos, scroll down to number 37, Instant Change. And I will talk you through an entire process where you can free yourself from painful memories and things that bog you down. And you'll forever destroy its ability to hurt you. Because again, they did what they did, or they didn't do what they didn't do once, twice, maybe a dozen times. But you've played it over in your mind 1,000 times. And remember, your subconscious doesn't know the difference between something that really happens and something that's vividly imagined. So as you play these pictures over and over and over again, it's like it's happening to you over and over and over again. And I showed you in episode 37 how to destroy that connection forever, okay? But the number one thing I want you to take from this, as I've mentioned lately, is the first place you have to start is just believing that it is possible for you to change. Believing that it is possible to have better. That's what's going to change this default future. That you can believe you even can have different and can have better. Okay? Because I talk to a lot of people that they're going, a lot of activity. But like Tony Robbins says, activity does not equal achievement. And if you never think that things are really going to change, if deep down inside, in your heart of hearts, way deep down in your belly, if you don't really believe that you can lose the weight or have that life or have that money or have that relationship, then it is never going to show up ever. I don't care how hard you try. I don't care how hard you work. I don't care what you do. If way deep down inside you don't believe it's at least possible, it is never going to show up. And you're wasting your time. Okay? So the first place you've got to get is just to the point that you believe you can have something different and something better and something more fulfilling than what you've got right now. Okay? Sorry, my clock's over there. All right? So that is how you begin this process of freeing yourself from the pain of the past. And I'm telling you, it is worth taking the time to wrestle with it and get a handle on it now, because it is not going to go away. And it is only going to continue to haunt you. And I'm going to tell you something. If you've got children, your baggage will become their baggage. The thing that you cannot let go will become their curse. It'll become a generational curse. They will pass the same baggage and same damaged thinking and self-image onto their children, and you'll have 4, 5, 6 generations of people who've got your same issues, and they will never know why, and they won't even know where to start to resolve it, because it's just what they've inherited. Believe me. That's why, when your parents are alcoholics, you're more likely to become an alcoholic. Obviously, there's a genetic component, but a lot of it is behavioral and situational, because you grow up and you watch them being this way and you hate it so much, but what you resist persists. And the fact that you hate it so much is what makes it show up in your life, okay? So cut the ties. Uproot it, all right? I'm almost out of time. So again, you can find links to all the stuff. Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, YouTube, Beliefnet on my website, about.me/BDaveWalters. Remember, watch episode 37 and do it often. It's an exercise. You can do it more than once. You are great, and I love you. Okay, bye-bye.